British politics has involved its fair share of weirdness in the last few years, but eyebrows were still raised this week when this happened. Yes, that was Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, knocking down a fake blue wall after his party overturned a big Conservative majority to win the Chesham and Amersham by-election. Mr Davey says the Lib Dems are on the march and gunning for other seats in the so-called Tory blue wall. But how realistic is that ambition? Let's ask Ed Davey. He joins us now. Sir Ed, stunning result in Chesham and Amersham, 25% swing. In the famous words of one of your predecessors, are you preparing for government yet?
Look, this is a huge moment for the Liberal Democrats. It's a big moment in British politics and for the British people. I think up till we defeated the Conservatives in Chesham and Amersham, people thought Boris Johnson couldn't be beaten, that he was somehow impregnable. Now they know he can. The Liberal Democrats showed that Boris Johnson could be beaten. And I've noticed how people are smiling more today. I think there's a glimmer of hope that the Conservatives can be beaten. The Liberal Democrats are going to do that in any safe Conservative seat, particularly on the blue wall seats. We are gunning for them, that's right.
I love the idea that the whole country is smiling at this victory just in time for the summer solstice. But seriously, we didn't see anything as big as or dramatic as this swing in the elections last month. So presumably you must accept that there are local factors, HS2, the planning issue, that really contributed to this size of swing.
Well, there are always some local factors, but actually on the doorsteps, and I went to Chesham and Amersham 16 times, I talked to hundreds of people, and the feeling I got from them was they'd been taken for granted by the Conservatives. Many people on the doorstep said I was the first politician to knock on their doors, and they'd lived there for 20, 30 years. So people, not just in Chesham and Amersham, but across the blue wall seats, I think have been taken for granted, and they saw Liberal Democrats listening to them, responding to them. And one of the things I heard was they felt that Boris Johnson wasn't in tune with traditional Conservative values, and they were worried about a whole range of national issues as well. So, you know, I'm confident that we are seeing a change in British politics, much bigger than people had been seeing. I think that both the pandemic and the polls have not picked this up. And there can be big shifts in British politics. We saw it in Scotland when the Labour monopoly went. We've seen it in the north of England with the Conservatives on the march. I think the blue wall in the south can be taken by the Liberal Democrats in large numbers of constituencies.
Let's see if those high expectations, which frankly we've heard before, can actually be fulfilled. And you talk about, you know, talking to people on the doorstep. What will the Liberal Democrats leaflet at a general election say? Will they say, as your candidate did in Chesham and Amersham, we are totally opposed to HS2? Or will they say, as you have said in the House of Commons, we support HS2 as an essential aspect of development of this country?
Well, if you remember, Cheryl Gillen, who sadly died and triggered this by-election, she opposed HS2 on behalf of her constituents in Chesham and Amersham. She fought boldly against her own party, the Conservative Party, who railroaded it through. I think it's completely reasonable for Sarah Green, wanting to be the representative for Chesham and Amersham, to have an independent voice. But let's be clear, Trevor, Liberal Democrats are
independent
in favour
of your party as well,
of
presumably.
high-speed links, because it's important to get more capacity on our railways. It's important to invest in public transport for climate change. But that doesn't mean we have to accept the way the government are implementing HS2, the way the HS2 company is going about things, because they're not listening to people in Chesham and Amersham. They're not. We felt on the doorsteps again that they were being taken for granted by the Department for Transport and by the HS2 company.
Ed Davey, though, I mean, it's not like you've got hundreds of MPs. You haven't got that many to have different factions within. Where will you stand when you come to a national contest? Are you, as a party, going to be for HS2, or are you not going to be for HS2?
Well, interesting, Trevor, the HS2 legislation has passed Parliament. It's impossible to have another vote on it, certainly in the next few years. What is before Parliament is a planning bill. And both with HS2 and the planning bill and many other things, the Conservatives have been taking people for granted, haven't been listening. Okay. And the planning bill and the proposed planning reforms, which are, frankly, a developer's charter, were what the vast majority of people were concerned about in Chesham and Amersham. Okay. They're worried that, and on yet another environmental issue, the government is saying one thing and doing another, not listening to local people.
OK, let's clear up something that seems to have emerged in the last couple of days. Liberal Democrat path to government, as your predecessor Nick Clegg showed, probably lies through some kind of alliance or arrangement or understanding with a larger party. You could reach an understanding with Labour, not a formal pact, that you don't contest seats where one of you can't win. Are you up for that?
Well, I thought what was interesting, Chesham and Amersham, lots of Labour and indeed Green voters saw Liberal Democrats not only just the best party to beat the Conservatives, but also liked our policies. And therefore, I think we shouldn't take voters for granted, should we? I don't think political parties own their voters and can't tell them which way to go. I'm interested in arguing for progressive policies that are in tune with people in Britain, and I'm determined to make sure that we win in those areas where we really are competitive, and we showed how competitive we are in Chesham and Amersham, and actually in the local elections before that, just last month, and we took control of Oxfordshire and Cambridgeshire councils for the first time. We made big gains in Hertfordshire and Surrey and Wiltshire. This, I think, gives credence to this argument about the blue wall, that the Liberal Democrats can make advances against the Conservatives in that. And I think it would just be wrong, Trevor, to be honest, to say that people can't have a chance to vote for a Liberal Democrat candidate, or indeed a chance to vote for a Labour candidate.
Yeah, but we know what this is real politics. And I'm detecting the sense that you're not going to be tremendously upset if you as a party decide that you're going to concentrate your efforts in areas where you can win and where the Labour Party is more likely to beat the Tories than you are, that you might decide that you're not going to throw all your eggs into those particular baskets. This is not formal, but are we saying that we are in that kind of territory?
Trevor, I think the audience to this programme will be surprised to hear you say that it's somehow unusual for parties to go after areas where they can win. We don't have a huge amount of resources.
No, but you don't
we need
not
to allocate
fight
those
areas
resources.
where you can't win.
I'm saying that the Liberal Democrats, under my leadership, will be a campaigning party. We will go out there and campaign for every vote, but we'll use our resources wisely. The first-past-the-post system, it's dreadful. We want proportional representation. We want electoral reform. But until we get that, we've got to play with the current system. And that requires you to concentrate your resources in areas where you're well-placed to beat the incumbent. And that's, for the Liberal Democrats, that's almost entirely beating Conservatives.
Sir Ed Davey, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.